what I would like to talk about, which is the Fermi Paradox. Are you familiar with that?
No. You know what's so funny? When you brought it up, I thought it was the what is it? The
Fergie Paradox.
Yeah, Fergalicious death. Fergalicious death.
Oh my God.
No, I thought it was something.
I'm getting hard. If you do that again, I'm going to get harder.
I thought it was that one about aliens, where it was that. What is that one that's about aliens? Where it's just like, actually, if there were aliens, we would have met them by now.
You're so dumb. You're right. It's exactly what it's about.
Oh, it is a Fermi Paradox.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm just
Because
kidding.
you said AI, so I was like, oh shit, I was wrong.
Well, yeah, that's a great filter. We're going to get into it. It's connected.
Okay, I knew I was right.
You were so fucking right. God, you know so much.
Fergalicious death.
All right. So the Fermi Paradox.
Yeah.
Basically, it was done by a fucking astronomer, cosmologist, whoever the fuck. Some nerd in like the 50s or whatever, which they basically came to this conclusion as they're studying the cosmos, right? The universe has been around for 14.8 billion years.
14.8.5.
Yeah, something like that. Earth has been around for 4 to 5 billion years. Life on Earth has been around, 3 billion plus years. So, the question is, where is all the life? When we look out with our telescopes and our, now our new James Webb telescopes, increasingly advanced tools to look out into the cosmos, or specifically the Milky Way, we don't see evidence of life, right? We don't see technosignatures in nearby solar systems. We're obviously never been, met with or had first contact with intelligent life. And that seems kind of paradoxical because life on planet Earth evolved, and there's 3 times as much time in the cosmos for other life to evolve. So you think that even a species that got 10,000 year head start on us would be so advanced that they could leave technosignatures in their solar system or travel between solar systems. And so the Fermi Paradox is basically, where are the aliens? In a universe that produces life as seemingly easily as it did on Earth and as seemingly quickly as it did on Earth, you would think that there would be at least some signs of intelligent life elsewhere in the cosmos. And there's not. So out of the Fermi Paradox, right, this question of where are all the aliens, comes the idea of great filters. So the idea that life, as it evolves in the cosmos, goes through a couple huge barriers to entry. And, that could be abiogenesis, right? Life going from dead inanimate chemicals to life. Like, how did they make that jump? Turns out on Earth, abiogenesis happened and got snuffed out multiple times. So even on Earth, the jump from dead chemicals to living organisms, which is still a mystery. We don't know how that jump exactly happens, but we do know that it happened on multiple occasions just on Earth. So that weakens its case for a great filter. A great filter is something that stops most species from going beyond it, right? Like it stops most species in their tracks. Now, the great filter that we did overcome that only happened once on Earth is the development of eukaryotes, or multi-celled organisms. So for the first billion or 2 billion years of life on Earth, we had single-celled organisms. Very simple fucking life. Nothing that would be complex, and perhaps that's what's created with abiogenesis, right? Single-celled organisms. Except one time, one cell, this is the scientific theory, one cell ate another cell, and instead of digesting it, that cell survived inside the body and the membrane of the larger cell, and eventually became mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. So instead of being dissolved and digested into the larger cell, it stayed whole and operated with the protection of the broader organism around it, where it could take its resources out of survival mode and into production of energy mode. This is a very simplified version of this fact, but it took 2 billion years from the creation of single-celled life on Earth, 2 billion.
Fucking layabouts, dude.
To one organism, single-celled organism, eating another single-celled organism, and for the first time creating multicellular life, which is the basis of all complex life. So all other forms of plant and animal life that came afterwards, all forms of plant and animal life, have a single ancestor. And it was when this one fucking amoeba ate this other amoeba, and instead of digesting it, they teamed up and became a multicellular organism, right?
Nice.
And that energy production of the smaller organism in the bigger one allowed that bigger one to separate into multiple cells and replicate itself. And then now we're off to the races of multicellular life. Then the Darwinian evolution by natural selection comes in and shapes and molds that life from there on out.
Did this happen in the Midwest or the Southwest?
Unsure. Yeah. But okay, that happened once. So an idea is that's a great filter. That if single-celled organism could exist on Earth for 2 billion years and never create multicellular life, and that only happened one time, right? So all the times that amoebas ran into each other, absorbed each other, ate each other, only once did it actually produce multicellular replicable life. So that could be a great filter. So we could be beyond the great filter, right? We could have been a rare species that surpassed it. Maybe all around the Milky Way are plenty of planets with a thin coat of fucking single-celled organism, like sludge or moss over it. Mm-hmm. Bacteria life, basically. But that there is no multicellular or complex life, right? But then you go up the chain of great filters. Great filters don't necessarily need to be just that. It could be something beyond us, right? Great filters could be the development of intelligence. So maybe lots of planets have animal and plant life, but the development of an intelligent species is very rare. But we go back in human history, the only example we have, and we see multiple hominoid species that we competed with. You know, Homo erectus beat out, Homo sapiens beat out Homo erectus and Neanderthals and other forms of proto-human life. So there was an evolutionary arms race within intelligent apes that we won. But the intelligence was already bubbling up in those species. Neanderthals, they had probably simple language. They had burial ceremonies. So that means they had some level of abstract thinking. We interbreeded with Neanderthals. All of us have 2, 3, 4%. Well, you have like 70% Neanderthal genes.
100%. Team Neander.
So okay, just like abiogenesis, the development of intelligence seem to have multiple trajectories here on Earth. And in fact, we can even zoom out the lens and say dolphins, you know, orangutans, octopi, various forms of whale. There's intelligence in nature, right? So the line between humans and other animals, it's there, but it's not as concrete as we'd like to think. Intelligence exists already on Earth multiple times. So maybe the great filter is ahead of us. Maybe we're entering a great filter. As intelligent civilizations build tech, this is where AI comes in. As intelligent civilizations begin to manipulate the world around them, they eventually bump into things like basic technology, steam engines, etc. They use the energy or the material in their world to produce energy like we do with fossil fuels, which allows us to then move into the computing age, where we begin to build computers, and a natural consequence of that is you end up building things like artificial intelligence.
Goddamn robots.
And so the great filter could be you develop nuclear bombs. 99% of species that develop nuclear bombs blow themselves up over a long enough time, preventing them from becoming spacefaring species that we would see when we look at with our telescopes, right? Because the question is, why don't we see spacefaring things? There could be other planets with like human level intelligence, but even that is like, we don't really see any of that. There could definitely be like dinosaur level worlds all over. We wouldn't really see anything other than their atmosphere being composed of certain forms of oxygen and chemical makeups that could only be produced by life. But what we're really interested in is like, where's the techno species? Something seems to be preventing life in the cosmos from reaching such a state that we would be able to see a techno species out there relatively easily in our Milky Way. We have found none. We found zero evidence of it. Mm-hmm. And so a great filter could be behind us, could be in front of us. AI could be a great filter, right? AI ends up always destroying its host. Environmental destruction could be a great filter. Species develop technological and industrial capacities, but they end up fucking up their own planet and setting themselves back, you know? Or we could be one of the rare species that made it past a previous great filter, like the formation of multicellular life, such that 99.9% of life in the cosmos is single-celled, simple life, and it's very, very hard and takes a long, long, long time for it to develop into multicellular life, which then creates the path to things like intelligence and techno-civilizations. What are your thoughts?
Well, to start, one of the things that I like, what at first I was team alien. I was like, it's the hubris to think that it's just us, baby. Like, that was my mindset. But when I did learn about the Fermi Paradox, I was like, I was working on my fitness, and then I started hearing about it, and I was like, because it was the idea of infinite. I guess that was more sort of the path I was going with it. Or I was like, infinite is like infinity almost starts to destroy everything when you think about it. Yeah. Like, because then all the stuff has happened because there's infinite possibility. So there's all this type of species that would kill us, that would save us, that would do this.
And me happening. And you have been here an infinite amount of time.
Unfortunately, yeah. But except I didn't. Probably the other me didn't have a torn ACL.
An infinite amount of ACL explosion
and drugs and alcohol and cough medicine. But the idea that, so with those infinite possibilities, what made me really think about it was just like, yeah, if there's the infinite possibilities, how have we not made contact? If literally it's kind of like the idea of like, if you put enough monkeys with typewriters in a room or whatever, give them 1 billion years, they'll create Shakespeare just because of the chances of stuff doing things. I thought about that the same way as alien contact. It was just like, how, if there's infinite everything, that there is not something that was created from the infinity, which again is so fucking hard to grasp, that something didn't eventually, not eventually.
But hold on. All
right.
The Earth, or the cosmos, is only 14.8 billion years old. So what do you mean by infinity?
See, okay, this was another aspect of it, is that it's always funny to me, is like, the universe is infinite. It's also been growing about this much per year. And it's like, how does infinity grow?
Right.
Like, that was one thing I always thought was very strange. And like the age, yes. Because now you get into I didn't want to get too deep into the deep trenches of stuff, like, whoa, man. But like,
let's do it.
To even put an age on the universe seems kind of strange, like, because what that does is it creates a starting point, and
finiteness,
and what is outside of the, and again, that what I meant by the deep trenches of just almost circular sort of debate is just like, what created the starting point, and what was outside of the thing of the starting point, and I think about that, like, I guess my concept of the universe was always that it was infinite in this way. Like, I get the idea of like measuring of stars and seeing the expansion and stuff like that, but it was just like, how does infinity expand? But then the infinity part doesn't really make any sense, because if it is, again, so insanely hard to truly grasp, but if it is infinity, that means everything has already happened all at once all the time, which is just like utter bedlam. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like,
it means if you go far enough in the cosmos, you'll come across another Earth with another Brett and Dave and another Shoeless in South Dakota, because infinity repeats everything infinitely.
And every scenario has happened.
Every version of it.
Yeah, that's what I mean of like everything happening all at once at the same time, because everything has already happened then. All the nuclear, like, I don't know, the aliens that created a bomb that blew up the universe, and then the ones that saved it and the ones who didn't. Like, how is all this stuff, it's the
same thing with multi-world theory.
Yeah.
That every quantum decision creates a parallel branch of reality, where, you decided to put on a Raider shirt, but it could have been a Husker shirt, and there's a different world in which, right when you make that decision, a different dimensional reality begins and goes off from there.
That happens for everyone.
For everyone, all at the same time, every animal.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a big problem with infinity. I don't think these...
Quote, Breht, I have a big problem with infinity.
I don't think these infinities exist.
How could it not, though?
I think well, one, we have the Big Bang. So we can go back and with really good science, we understand that the universe that we live in right now, we don't know what's beyond it or what's before it.
Okay.
But the universe that we live in right now is definitely roughly 15 billion years old.
That actually helps me a little bit to imagine it the universe we live in.
Right. Everything beyond that is necessarily speculation. So we could live in a multiverse where we're just one universe in a bunch, highly speculative, no way to prove it. We could live in a universe that expands and contracts infinitely, right? So you could have like a breathing universe, which big bangs, and then over time it hits its limits, dark matter, dark energy, whatever the fuck, starts to contract it, comes back down into an infinitely dense point, and then that becomes unstable and it explodes again, right? You could imagine like an oscillating universe.
Right.
But in every single instance, the contraction would take everything, crush it back up again, and when it expands again, one of two things happens. It either expands in exactly the same ways with the same laws and material, in such a way that we replicate the universe over and over again. So that's a kind of infinity.
Yes, yeah.
But it's different than just infinite space and time.
Right.
That's out there right now. It's a process that produces the same exact thing, like determined by natural laws and the ingredients in every Big Bang. It creates the exact same trajectory. Or every time it contracts, all the ingredients get mixed up and the explosion happens again with the same laws, but the material plays out in a different way.
Yeah.
So you could have an
Shuffle the cards, and it's all the same cards, but you just deal them out different.
Right. Or, I mean, yeah, then we can get into simulation or God or all these things, but we know for a fact that with the Big Bang, a fact, quote unquote, we know with high degrees of scientific confidence that the Big Bang not only created space, it created time. So time and space are a single fucking thing, as Einstein tells us.
Yeah.
And they were birthed at the same time, at least in this universe, together, which defeats the idea of infinity. Because space and time are finite.
That starting point, you know, there's no starting point if you're in the realm of infinity.
Exactly. So with that, all that in mind, then the question is, in this universe, let's just round up, 15 billion years, 1/3 of that, the time of the whole universe, Earth has existed. And for most of Earth's existence, there's been some form of life on it. Abiogenesis happened quickly. It took a long time for multicellular complex life and even longer for intelligent, self-aware life to come on board. But 1/3 of the entire universe's existence, Earth has been here. So another possibility to the Fermi Paradox is we're incredibly early. That the universe, even this one, you know, even if it extends infinitely and eventually fizzles out and dies, or if it contracts and oscillates again, we're talking trillions of years for that process to play out, as far as what we know. So it could be the case that actually Earth came online very, very quickly. And in the future, more and more and more and more civilizations will exist because more and more time allows for these processes to occur. And that actually we're going to be seen in the whole history of the cosmos as an incredibly ancient species, one of the first.
That's such an American way to think about it.
Maybe.
We're the first, baby!
Another complexity to this is that we can only see our own galaxy. When we look up at the night sky, we don't see the universe. We see the Milky Way. When we have our James Webb Space Telescopes and our Hubble telescopes, it can look into deep space and you can see the swirling galaxies. But all the stars and planets and stuff and that exoplanets that we can look at are in the Milky Way.
Yeah.
So it could be the case, and there's billions, if not trillions, of galaxies? So it could be the case that some galaxies produce life very quickly, just out of just pure statistical odds, right? You have 1 trillion galaxies. Some are going to pick up life quickly, and you could have a galaxy right now somewhere in the cosmos where there's like solar wars, like Star Wars type shit, right? you could have some galaxies that are totally dead, that there's no complex life at all.
Yeah.
Or you could have some galaxies which would probably be in the middle of the bell curve that are like the Milky Way, where there's life. If we could search through the Milky Way, we'd find lots of like moss and pond scum level life. We'd find a couple like dinosaurs, animals kind of life. And maybe in the whole Milky Way galaxy, we would find a handful, maybe even 1,000 or 10,000, which we would never be able to communicate with. It could still be spread out enough that we wouldn't be aware of it. Human level intelligence, maybe a couple higher.
Yeah.
Right? And it could be like that. And then the third problem, and I'll stop after this, space travel could be functionally impossible, such that to travel your own solar system is one thing, right? To travel to a different solar system, now you're talking light years. You can't produce anything that goes faster than light. And in order for something to travel at the speed of light, it has to have no mass. That's why photons can travel at the speed of light. They're massless.
Right.
But you can't have a ship travel at the speed of light. And assuming that there's no wormholes, no tricks to get around this problem of the universal speed limit, it could very well be the case that it makes no sense, even for a highly, highly, highly developed species, to travel beyond its solar system. There's diminishing returns. There's no real reason to spend all that time and energy and resources into intersolar things if you have enough in your own solar system to survive, right? Once you colonize your solar system, you've functionally protected yourself against extinction. Like an asteroid hitting one planet, well, we're spread out over multiple planets, we're good. It's not going to happen, like we're not going to go extinct. So I can see that a species' drive for self-preservation would push them to colonize their solar system. But in very rare cases would it push them to go beyond that. Just not even that they couldn't, but that the time scales and distances for the uncertainty of where you'd end up would be so would be such a diminishing return on your investment of wealth and energy and spending generations on a ship to go to a different solar system.
Yeah, but one thing you have to think about is that, and I think about this so much because it's just so insane to me, is just that dudes way back when cut down a tree, made a boat, started out on the coast of the ocean and said, that way.
That's true. That's
that
true.
is insane to me, dude. And so, but okay, so my one other aspect to it, and I brought this up before because I also think about this a lot, is that I always thought it was so funny where it's just like aliens have the ultimate possibilities of what they are and everything that they could be. What do they look like? And they're about our height, got a head, bipedal, all that type of stuff. And so what I think is that there is maybe a chance that aliens are already here or already have passed by here. They've found some way that we can't comprehend where they live massless, where they live, like again, because aliens people, we think about appendages and we think about this physicality of it, like maybe it looks like an animal. Maybe, that was always so funny about like the monster aliens. Like these like Neanderthalic orc monster aliens like beat us out in technology. But anyways.
The xenomorphs?
Yeah, because they always wanted them to be creepy looking. But that is just how we can possibly conceptualize something, and it goes outside of that. It lives in maybe a gaseous sort of form that doesn't have any, and it can just, they've already been here and they're still here or something. They're in right now. Like they chose the superpower invisibility, so they're probably doing weird shit. But no, in all seriousness though, it could just be, they could be among us right now, and we don't, they're not like things like that we think of them as. They're not like, the big-headed, big-eyed aliens. They're not any sort of creature. They're not any sort of sludge. Like, they're not like from the Arrival aliens. They even go beyond that. They're just like, they live in a real way, but it's just in these photons, sort of empty particles, but they have like intelligence through, again, ways that you can't comprehend.
So you bumped into another possible solution to the Fermi Paradox, which is some version of the zoo hypothesis, or more broadly, why are there no aliens? Well, there are, but they're either so advanced that we can't comprehend them. We're looking for them in the wrong way, like kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or they are purposefully shielding themselves from our discovery. They're so advanced, they already know we're here, right? This is the zoo hypothesis in the sense that we're in the zoo. Like they can see us, they're looking in on us, but they determine whether or not we can see them.
Yeah.
And so they shield themselves in some way, or they make it impossible until they're ready to make contact. And then you get into the UFO world, the people that believe in the UFOs, and I don't really believe in this necessarily, but that they're here. The idea is, yes, they're here. The Fermi Paradox is a misunderstanding. There's no paradox at all. They exist. They're here. They're hiding themselves from us. And the way that they're slowly introducing themselves is slowly through sighting, so that in the pop cultural and psychological mindset of the human species, we slowly come to terms without any hard proof right away, right? They're not landing on the White House lawn. They're just showing us little brief things. Our pop culture picks it up. We make movies about it. We make songs about it. We make documentaries about it. Some people believe, some don't. We have a debate. In the process of that, we're psychologically eased in to the fact that they exist. And then at some point, when they feel, for whatever reason, that we're technologically or culturally or civilizationally ready, then they make their appearance fully known. But they understand, because they're obviously more complex than us, that it would be too psychologically and socially destabilizing for them to just punch into our existence.
Yeah.
And so that's one. The other is the dark forest hypothesis, which says that there are aliens out there, but they're, and I don't believe this hypothesis either, but they don't send signals out. That they are scared of inviting the intention. And the ones that do, the ones that start saying, hey, we're here, send out our radio signals, flash our lights, like if anybody can see us, come get us, those ones are destroyed.
Nice.
By an intergalactic species that, punches them out. So the ones that survive, there's lots of aliens. The ones that survive are the ones that keep to themselves and don't signal their existence. And the ones that do signal their existence frantically, like we're doing, get fucking obliterated by the galactic overlords.
Fucking, you know what? Squeaky wheel gets the grease or it gets replaced.
Exactly.